Hi guys, so it felt that it was about time that I did this video. I set up the page back in September because I wanted to show people how easy it was to be vegan and to mainly encourage other people to become vegan by showing them how easy it is. It then kind of transformed from just food to activism, as I obviously got more involved in activism, and so I felt it was about time that I did a video on why I went vegan, because it might help other people. I think it's always good to share our stories as well about what made us change. So I'm 26 years old now, and for 25 years of my life I ate meat, egg, dairy and everything like most people do. I owned leather, I owned wool. I didn't really acknowledge whether anything had animal products in it. I didn't really acknowledge whether my cosmetics had been tested on animals. I didn't really care at all. I didn't really like animals. I didn't really feel anything for them. Like most people, when you see puppies and stuff, I was like, oh, they're cute and that, but I just didn't really appreciate them as such, I guess. And as much as I hate to admit it, I probably would have had no problem going in somewhere and ordering veal or foie gras, or owning fur. Obviously now that's changed a lot. So I guess the question is, what makes someone who for 25 years ate all those things and had no problem buying leather or wool or anything, or no issues of agriculture or going to zoos or farms or anything, change their entire way of life? I think the only thing I used to be against, I've always been against dog and horse racing, which now obviously I find very hypocritical that there's this kind of one thing that I was against, because I was like, we shouldn't use them for racing, when I was eating meat and going to zoos and stuff. So yeah, I mean, what makes someone change everything about their life? It was at the end of last May. I laid in bed on Facebook browsing through, and someone had shared a video, and I don't even know who shared it or how it popped up on my newsfeed or anything, or where it came from, because I don't have any, at that point I didn't, as far as I was aware, have any vegan friends on my Facebook. But I think it was a PETA video, but don't hold me to it if it wasn't, I'm not sure. But it was basically on how goose down was collected, if that's the right word. Now, I actually owned a goose down duvet at this point and pillows, and I had gone out my way to buy goose down ones because they were comfier. And I just assumed, they had been killed in a humane way in a factory somewhere, and that they were feathers used from geese that were going to be used for meat, and that it was a byproduct and nothing to worry about. I didn't really think about it. I just wanted them because they were comfy and warm in the winter. So yeah, I came across this, I think it was about a 4 or 5 minute video on goose down. I remember watching it, and I can't remember exactly what country it was in. It was obviously in Britain, and I know it wasn't in America either. Essentially it was, there was these women, and they were holding these live geese down by kneeling on their necks whilst tearing their feathers out. The geese were in so much pain that they would like, geese don't scream, but they would make obviously noises of discomfort and pain, and they would just go like silent and not move because they were in so much pain. And the video went on for about 3 or 4 minutes. Bearing in mind this was while I was laid in my goose down duvet and pillows. I don't have them anymore, these are all synthetic. As you can imagine, that made me feel incredibly uncomfortable and upset me a great deal, because I used to have a pet goose when I was younger. I can't remember exactly how old I was, I must have been 13 maybe. We had a pet goose. No, we didn't live on a farm, we just, had a pet one. So I guess for some people that's like, if you own a pet dog at some point and watch dogs getting skinned alive fur, the same reaction that people have to that. Obviously it really distressed me and it really upset me, because I couldn't believe what I was watching, and more so I couldn't believe that I'd gone out my way to pay for something that was causing this. It was really hard. I didn't get much sleep that night, and I guess I decided that I wasn't gonna obviously buy any more down products, and I wasn't gonna buy leather and stuff, because I've started to realise that it was unnecessary. But I guess within the space of about 3 days I started questioning everything else. So I was still eating meat, and I was kind of starting to wonder where that came from, and whether those animals experienced the same kind of thing as these geese had on these geese farms for my duvet, whether those animals that were on my plate had gone through the same thing, which obviously I now know they had. And I started becoming really uncomfortable with eating meat. The last meal I had with meat in it was, I believe the last day of May last year. I was at my boyfriend's and we had pasta with chicken in. And I'd kind of already figured that I was possibly going to give going vegetarian a go, but I kind of didn't want to just jump it on everyone, because in case, you know, it was going to pass or something, you know, like a phase. I felt so uncomfortable eating it that I got up the next morning and I said to him, I'm going to try vegetarian. I'm going to give it a go, because I just felt really uncomfortable eating it. And I'd started to watch some of the videos online of, you know, where our food comes from and the animals and slaughterhouses and all this and that. And I really didn't feel very comfortable with it at all. I guess growing up I had some kind of awareness of it, like most children do at a certain time. I'd seen the odd video, but because I guess we're so brainwashed from the day we're born that it's so normal, it had never really triggered like this had. So I think, yeah, the 1st of June last year, 2016, I decided that I was vegetarian, so I went vegetarian. I found that incredibly easy. I actually didn't use many meat substitutes, so I replaced all the meat with dairy. I literally, every meal I had, I just replaced it with dairy. I had about 6 types of cheese in my fridge at one time. But then kind of slowly what happened was I started watching more documentaries, and I started learning more, and I started to wonder where my food actually came from, and I started to read about the egg industry and the dairy industry, and I started to watch things like Cowspiracy and Knives Over Forks, and I didn't like what I was seeing. Like, yeah, I decided to kind of make a massive drastic change in my health. I'd started a diet, and since then I've lost over 1/4 of my body weight, because I just wanted to make myself healthier, so kind of it appealed to that side of things as well. So I started watching all these documentaries, and obviously there was all the health links to eating dairy and eggs, and then I was watching things like Cowspiracy with all the environment, and I couldn't believe that something that I was doing, something that I was eating, had been causing so much damage. I didn't actually watch Earthlings till after I decided to become vegan. I actually just kind of watched a few videos online, mainly on PETA. It didn't take many of the animal cruelty videos for me to get what was going on that side. I mainly started to read up about it. It just made me feel incredibly uncomfortable, and it took about a month and a half. It wasn't a transition. I didn't decide that, but you know, I was going to go vegan and cut everything out gradually. That was not the intention. I kept saying all the way along, no, I'm not going to. I'm not going to get to a point where I don't eat these things. I wanted to stay vegetarian, but not buy leather or animal products in that sense. And I started looking into makeup, and I was like, I'm going to buy cruelty free as well, you know, and cruelty free house cleaners, this kind of thing. But I'm still going to eat dairy and eggs. And the more I watched, the more I became uncomfortable with it. And so I think the first thing I did was swap milk for soy milk. This was incredibly easy because it's something that I'd done for weight loss previously, was swap milk with soy milk, as much it's got much less fat in it. So that was one of the first things. Cheese and chocolate I thought I'd never be able to give up, so I didn't even try to give those up to start with. But I think I just gradually became more and more uncomfortable, and when I was eating it, I started to associate more with what I was eating and where it had come from and what it was doing to my body and what it was doing to the environment and what it was doing to everything. I think about 4 weeks into being vegetarian, I decided that I wasn't going to buy those things to have at home. So I was just like, okay, like I'm feeling really uncomfortable with this. I'm not going to buy them to have at home at all. I'll only eat them when I'm out. I guess I was still eating it out because I didn't want to feel uncomfortable around other people. And the last thing I had that had dairy in it was a malt loaf by accident, and that was the day before I decided, right, I'm going vegan, because I remember feeling really grossed out that I'd eaten it and I had milk in it and where the milk came from and all of it. I'm sure, like most vegans, I feel disgusted that I used to eat all that stuff. That I used to eat meat, and now knowing where that comes from and the videos I've seen, and I've watched other things on YouTube, and if you haven't watched it then I suggest you do. Even if you're already vegan, I watched it and it traumatised the life out of me, but it really kind of set in stone everything and made me really determined about why I wanted to go vegan, because it's just horrific. It's just horrific what we do to these animals, and I still feel disgusted that I used to do that. I used to eat that. I was causing that pain. I was paying. I wasn't even causing it. I was paying for it. I was paying somebody else to do that to these animals. And looking back now, it's upsetting to think that I did that, and I'm sure that most vegans feel that way. I guess the only really good thing is looking forward that, like, you know, we know that we're not doing that anymore, but it still doesn't take it away that you used to, which is quite hard. So yeah, for me that's why I went vegan. That's what happened. It all started. So I'm always saying to people that it's really important to do online sharing, because for some people that's all it takes. That's all it takes is like one video that will trigger something. Like for me, watching the video of those geese and having a pet goose, it triggered the entire journey, not only for me to become vegetarian, but for me to then become vegan, but not only to just become vegan, but for me to then become and want to be a vegan activist and want to speak out for animals. That one video that somebody shared. That's why it's so important, and that's why vegan activism is so important as well. Because without vegan activists, then most of us probably wouldn't have made that decision to remove animal products from our lives. Because that video, that was recorded by someone, that was recorded by an activist. That video was put together by an activist. That was then produced and shared on social media sites by other activists. And that's why it's so important to get involved, whether it's going and sticking labels on meat products, whether it's going and chalking, whether it's doing leafleting, whether it's going and doing direct action, whether it's taking part in marches, whether you go to Saves, whether you go to Earthlings, whether you go to Cube of Truth, whether you take part in Anonymous as Voiceless, whatever it is, it's so important to do something about it, because those animals, they don't have a voice. We are their voice, and that's the only way we're going to change things. That is the only way we're going to change what is going on. And as I say, it just takes one thing. It can take one 4-minute video to completely change someone's entire way of life and what they've believed for 25 years. So yeah, I guess that's my story on what made me go vegan. A very rude awakening to what happened, what is happening, what is still happening, because it is. I hope this is, I don't know if it'd be helpful to anyone, but it might be. Might be useful to anyone considering going vegan, or, you know, but I'd love to hear some of your stories, some stories from other people on what made them change their ways and what made them change their life. Thanks.